Hi guys, welcome back to my read along channel. This is Danny, the champion of the world, Roald Dahl. I'm just reading this for entertainment and pleasure purposes. It's all Roald Dahl's own work. I might be a bit sniffy in this video as I'm sort of still, even though I'm better, I'm back to work, I'm still getting over whatever it is I had at the beginning of the week. And you might also hear some different background noises because there is some construction work going on opposite the road of where I live. So, without further ado, let's get going. This is chapter 15 and it's called The Keeper and it's on page 144. I'm hoping to read the next couple of chapters this time round, which will be a treat for you all because I seldom get to more than one chapter recently. So, without further ado, let's get going and stop myself waffling. Chapter 15 The Keeper. We sat on the grassy Sorry, guys. I'll start that again. We sat on the grassy bank below the edge, waiting for darkness to fall. The sun had now set, and the sky was pale smoke blue, faintly glazed with yellow. In the wood behind us, the shadows and the spaces in between the trees were turning from grey to black. You could offer me anywhere in the world at this moment, my father said, and I wouldn't go. His whole face was glowing with happiness. "We did it, Danny," he said, laying a hand gently on my knee. "We pulled it off. Doesn't that make you feel good?" "Terrific," I said, "but it was a bit scary while it lasted." "Ah, but that's what poaching's all about," he said. "It scares the pants off of us. And that's why we love it. Look, there's a hawk." I looked where he was pointing and saw a kestrel hawk hovering superbly in the darkening sky above the ploughed field across the track. "It is his last chance for supper tonight," my father said. "He'll be lucky if he sees anything now." Except for the swift fluttering of its wings, the hawk remained absolutely motionless in the sky. It seemed to be suspended by some invisible thread, like a toy bird hanging from the ceiling. Then suddenly it folded its wings and plummeted towards the earth at an incredible speed. This was a sight that always thrilled me. "What do you think he saw, Dad?" "A young rabbit, perhaps," my father said, "or a vole or a field mouse. None of them has a chance when there's a kestrel overhead." We waited to see if the hawk would fly up again. He didn't, which meant he had caught his prey and was eating it on the ground. "How long does a sleeping pill take to work?" I asked. "I don't know the answer to that one," my father said. "I imagine it's about half an hour. It might be different with the pheasants, though, Dad." "It might," he said. "We've got to wait a while anyway to give the keepers time to go home. They'll be off as soon as it gets dark. I've bought an apple for each of us," he added, fishing into one of his pockets. "A Cox's orange pippin," I said, smiling. "Thank you very much." We sat there munching away. "One of the nice things about a Cox's orange pippin," my father said, "is the pips rattle when it's ripe. Shake it and you can hear them rattling." I shook my half-eaten apple. The pips rattled. Look out, he whispered sharply. "There's someone coming." The man had appeared suddenly and silently out of the dusk, and was quite close before my father saw him. "It's another keeper," he whispered. "Just sit tight and don't say a word." We both watched the keeper as he came down the track towards us. He had a shotgun under his arm, and there was a black Labrador walking at his heel. He stopped when he was a few paces away, and the dog stopped with him and stayed behind him, watching us through the keeper's legs. "Good evening," my father said, nice and friendly. This one was a tall, bony man with hard eye and a hard cheek and hard, dangerous hands. "I know you," he said, coming closer. "I know the both of you." My father didn't answer this. "You're from the filling station, right?" His lips were thin and dry, with sort of brownish crust over them. "You're from the filling station, and that's your boy. You live in that filthy old caravan, right?" "What are we playing?" my father said. 20 questions? The keeper spat out a big gob of spit, and I saw it go sailing through the air and land with a plop on a patch of dry dust 6 inches from my father's plaster foot. It looked like a little baby oyster lying there. "Beat it," the man said. "Go on, get out." When he spoke, his upper lips lifted above the gum, and I could see a row of his discoloured teeth. One of them was black, the others were brownish yellow, like the seeds of a pomegranate. "This happens to be a public footpath," my father said kindly. "Kindly do not molest us." The keeper shifted the gun from his left arm to his right. "You're loitering," he said, with intent to commit a nuisance. I don't. I could run you in for that." You couldn't, my father said. All this made me rather nervous. I see you've broke your foot, the keeper said. You didn't by any chance fall into a hole in the ground, did you? It's been a nice walk, Danny, my father said, putting a hand on my knee, but it's time we went home for our supper. He stood up, and so did I. We wandered off down the track, the way we had come, leaving the keeper standing there, and soon he was out of sight in the half darkness behind us. That's the head keeper, my father said. His name is Rabbits. Do we have to go home, Dad? No, my father cried. My dear boy, we're just beginning. Come in here. There was a gate on our right leading into a field, and we climbed over it and sat down behind Mr. and sat behind the hedge. Sorry, guys. Mr. Rabbit's is due for his supper, my father said. You mustn't worry about him. We sat quietly behind the hedge, waiting for the keeper to walk past us on his way home. A few stars were showing, and a bright three-quarter moon was coming up over the hills behind us in the east. We have to be careful of that dog, my father said. When they come by, hold your breath and don't move a muscle. Won't the dog smell us out anyway? I asked. No, my father said. There's no wind to carry the scent. Look out, here they come. Don't move. The keeper came loping softly down the track with his dog padding quick and soft-footed at his heel. I took a deep breath and held it as they went by. When they were some distance away, my father stood up and said, It's all clear. He won't be coming back tonight. Are you sure? I'm positive, Danny. What about the other one? The one in the clearing? He'll be gone too. Mightn't one of them be waiting for us at the bottom of the track? I asked. By the gap in the hedge? There won't be any point in him doing that, my father said. There's at least 20 different ways of reaching the road when you come out of Hazel's Wood. Mr. Rabbit knows that. We stayed behind the hedge for a few minutes more just to be on the safe side. Isn't it a marvellous thought, though, Danny, my father said, that there's about 200 pheasants at this very moment roosting up in those trees, and already they're beginning to feel groggy. Soon they'll be falling out branches like raindrops. The three-quarter moon was well above the hills now, and the sky was filled with stars as we climbed back over the gate and began walking up the track towards the wood. Chapter 16. The Champion of the World. It was not as dark as I'd expected it to be inside the wood this time. The little glints and glimmers from the brilliant moon outside shone through the leaves and gave the place a cold, eerie look. I bought a light for each of us, my father said. We're going to need it later on. He handed me one of those small pocket torches shaped like a fountain pen. I switched mine on. It threw a long, narrow beam of surprising brightness, and when I moved it around it was like waving a very long white wand among the trees. I switched it off. We started walking back towards the clearing where the pheasants had eaten the raisins. This, my father said, will be the first time in history of the world that anyone has ever tried to poach roosting pheasants. Isn't it marvellous, though, to be able to walk around without worrying about keepers? You don't think Mr. Rabbit might have sneaked back again just to make sure? Never, my father said. He's gone home to his supper. I couldn't help thinking that if I'd been Mr. Rabbit, if I'd been seen two suspicious-looking characters lurking just outside my precious pheasant wood, I certainly would not have gone home to my supper. My father must have sensed my fears, because once again he reached out and took my hand in his, holding his long warm fingers around mine. Hand in hand we threaded our way through the trees towards the clearing. In a few minutes we were there. Here's where we threw the raisins, my father said. I peered through the bushes. The clearing lay pale and milky in the moonlight. What do we do next? I asked. We stay here and wait, my father said. I could just make out his face under the peak of his cap, the lips pale, the cheeks flushed, the eyes shining bright. Are they all roosting, Dad? Yes, they are. They're all around us. They don't go far. Could I see them if I shone my light up into the branches? No, he said. They grow up pretty high and they hide in among the leaves. We stood waiting for something to happen. Nothing happened. It was very quiet there in the woods. Danny, my father said. Yes, Dad. I've been wondering how a bird manages to keep its balance sitting on a branch when it's asleep. I don't know, I said. Why? It's very peculiar, he said. What's peculiar? It's peculiar that a bird doesn't topple off its perch as soon as it goes to sleep. After all, if we're sitting on a branch and we went to sleep, we would fall off at once, wouldn't we? Birds have claws and long toes, Dad. I expect they hold on with those. I know that, Danny, but I still don't understand why the toes keep gripping the perch once the bird is asleep. Surely everything goes limp when you fall asleep. I waited for him to go on. I was thinking, he said, that if a bird can keep its balance when it's asleep, then surely there isn't any reason why the pill should make it fall down. It's doped, I said. Surely it will fall down if it's doped. But isn't that simply a deeper sort of sleep, he said. Why should we expect it to fall down just because it's in a deeper sleep? There was a gloomy silence. I should have tested it with roosters, my father added. Suddenly, the blood seemed to have drained right out of his cheeks. His face was so pale I thought he might be going to faint. My dad would have tested it with roosters before he did anything else, he said. At that moment there came a soft thump from the wood behind us. What was that? I asked. Shh! We stood listening. Thump! There's another, I said. There was a deep, muffled sound as though the bag of sand had been dropped to the ground. Thump! They're pheasants, I cried. Wait! They must be pheasants, Dad. Thump! Thump! You may be right, Danny. We switched on our torches and ran towards the sounds. Were they? Where were they? My father said. Over here, Dad. Two of them were here. I thought they were this way. Keep looking. They can't be far. We searched for about a minute. Here's one, my father called. When I got to him, he was holding a magnificent pot bow in both hands. We examined it closely with our torches. It's doped to high heaven, my father said. It won't wake up for a week. Thump! There's another, I cried. Thump! Thump! Two more, my father yelled. Thump! 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 Jeepers, my father said. Thump! 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 All around us the pheasants were starting to rain down out of the trees. We began rushing around madly in the dark, sweeping the ground with our torches. Thump! 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 This lot fell almost on top of me. I was right under the trees as they came down, and I found all three of them immediately. Two cocks and a hen. They were limp and warm, the feathers wonderfully soft in the hand. Where shall I put them, Dad? I called out. Lay them here, Danny. Just pile them up here when it's light. Where it's light. My father was standing on the edge of the clearing with the moonlight streaming down all over him, and a great bunch of pheasants in each hand. His face was bright, his eyes big and bright and wonderful, and he was staring around him like a child who has just discovered the whole world is made of chocolate. Thump, thump, thump. It's too many, I said. It's beautiful, he cried. He dumped the birds he was carrying and ran off to look for more. Thump, 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 thump. It was easy to find them now. There were one or two lying under every tree. I quickly collected six more, three in each hand, and ran back and dumped them with the others. Then six more after that, and still they kept falling. My father was in a whirl of excitement now, dashing about like a mad ghost under the trees. I could see the beam of his torch waving around in the dark, and every time he found the birds he gave a little yelp of triumph. Thump, thump, thump! Hey, Danny, he shouted. Yes, I'm over here. What is it, Dad? What do you think the great Mr. Victor Hazel would say if he could see this? Don't talk about it, I said. For 3 or 4 minutes the pheasants kept on falling, then suddenly they stopped. Keep searching, my father shouted. There's plenty more on the ground. Dad, I said, I don't think we ought to get out while the going's good. No, he shouted, not on your life. We went on searching We went on searching. Between us, we looked under every tree within 100 yards of the clearing, north, south, east, west, and I think we found the most of them in the end. At that collecting point there was a pile of pheasants as big as a bonfire. It's a miracle, my father was saying. It's an absolute miracle. He was staring at them in a kind of trance. Shouldn't we take 6 each and get out quick? I said. I would like to count them, Danny. Dad, not now. I must count them. Can we do that later? 1, 2, 3, 4. He began counting them very carefully, picking up each bird in turn and laying it carefully to one side. The moon was directly overhead now, and the whole clearing was brilliantly lit up. I felt as though I was standing in the glare of a powerful headlamp. 117, 118, 119, 120, he cried. It's an all-time record. He looked happier than I'd ever seen him in his life. The most my dad ever got was 15, and he was drunk for a week afterwards, he said. But this, my dear boy, is an all-time world record. I expect it is, I said. And you did it, Danny. The whole thing was your idea in the first place. I didn't do it, Dad. Oh, yes, you did. And you know what makes you my dear boy? It makes you the champion of the world. He pulled up his sweater and unwound the two big cotton sacks from round his belly. Here's yours, he said, handing them to me. Fill it up quick. The light of the moon was so strong I could read the print across the front of the sack. J.W. Crump, it said. Keston Flour Mills, London, SW17. You don't think that keeper with brown teeth is watching us this very moment from behind the tree, I said. No, Charles, my father said. If he's anywhere, he'll be down at the filling station waiting to catch us coming home with the loot. We started loading the pheasants into the sacks. They were soft and floppy necked, and the skin underneath the feathers was still warm. We can't possibly carry this lot all the way home, I said. Of course not. There'll be a taxi waiting for us on the track outside the wood. A taxi, I said. My dad always made use of a taxi on the big job, he said. Why a taxi, for heaven's sake? It's more secret, Danny. Nobody knows who's inside a taxi except the driver. Which driver? I asked. Charlie Kinch. He's only too glad to be obliged. Does he know about poaching too? Oh, Charlie Kinch? Of course he does. He's poached more pheasants in his time than we've sold gallons of petrol. We finished loading the sacks, and my father humped his onto his shoulders. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do that with mine. It was too heavy for me. Drag it, my father said. Just drag it along the ground. My sack had 60 birds inside it and weighed a ton, but it slid quite easily over the dry leaves with me walking backwards and pulling it with both hands. We came to the edge of the wood and peered through the hedge into the track. My father said, Charlie boy, very softly, and the old man behind the wheel of the taxi poked his head out into the moonlight and gave us a sly toothless grin. We slid through the hedge, dragging the sacks after us along the ground. Hello, 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 Charlie Kinch said. What's all this then? And that is where I'm going to pause it there, guys. So the next chapter will be called Chapter 17, and it will be called, will be number 17, and be called The Taxi, and the page number will be 162. But thank you so much for listening, as always. Until the next time, guys. Goodbye.